friends, I'm Vicki and you're with Grammy in the Kitchen. Today we're going to make some creamy cheesy potatoes with skin on boneless chicken thighs and some roasted broccoli. If this is something you're interested in, stick around. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you part of the Grammy family. So without further ado, aprons on, let's get cooking. We're going to start off by peeling our potatoes and getting those sliced up. So I have a 5-pound bag of potatoes. We're not going to use them all. We're probably going to use about half of this. Save this for a future recipe. Now we're going to slice these into 1/4-inch slices. Can you see how thin that is? We're just going to go all the way down each of these potatoes and cut these about 1/4 inch. Okay, we have our potatoes sliced. So we have water to cover all the potatoes, and we're going to let that stay covered until we're ready to use them. So we're going to set this aside. I have my little freezer bag. We're going to go ahead and peel this onion, and you know how we do things around here. We save all of our vegetable scraps to make stock in the future. Cut these up into very small dices. So what I'm doing is, if you see, the layers are going this way. So we're going to cut it going here, and then we're going to cut it this way. Well, that's a potent onion. Alright, now we're going to set our onions aside. This is the garlic we preserved in vinegar. We're going to take 4 cloves out of this vinegar, and we're going to mince them. Now you can chop them up, but if you have a garlic press, that just makes it easier. And now we're going to set our garlic to the side. Picked up a pack of chicken thighs when I went to Kroger, and there's 8 pieces in here, and we're going to go ahead and cook all of these chicken so that we can have a good amount of leftovers. They came 2 ways: bone in, skin on, or boneless, skinless. But I do want the skin, but I didn't want the bone. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on getting this bone out. So we have our big knife and we have a small knife. So we're going to start by going to one side of the bone. I am working on the left, and I'm just cutting the meat right next to that bone. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Trying to preserve as much of the meat as possible. I'm going across the top. Then we're going to go, once we get it exposed on the left and the right, we're going to go underneath it. Watch where your fingers are when you're putting this knife under there. And now we have a little hole underneath. We're just going to cut all the way to the end of that bone. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side, trying to get as much of that meat saved and not discard it. And just slowly work your way around that bone. And there we go, we got the bone out. And now we're not going to throw this away. We're actually going to add that to our scrap bag for chicken stock. And I want the skin on with the chicken, but if you can see there's some excess skin here, we're just going to trim that off again in the scrap bag. It's good flavor for chicken stock. I'm going to remove a little bit of this fat off. Okay, so that is one thigh down. So we have boneless, skin on chicken thighs. Now I'm going to work on the rest of this and I'll bring you right back when we're ready to move on to the next step. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a tendon right here. We want to get removed as much of that as possible. Makes a nice tender piece of chicken. This will go in the freezer. I will label it. And the next time we need to make no-cost chicken stock, I have a head start. And I just wrote scraps on it. And we're going to put our chicken in the refrigerator until we're ready. So I have the oven preheating to 350. I have a casserole dish with some olive oil. I'm just going to spread that around to make sure we don't have nothing stick to our pan. I went ahead and drained the potatoes. So in our cast iron skillet, we're going to put some fire underneath of it. To make a roux, it's equal amount of fats to flour. Since I'm using 2 tablespoons of flour, we want to start off with a good 2 tablespoons of butter or fat of your choice. I want butter because I want this to be a creamy, buttery dish. Add half of our onions and half of our garlic. I'm just using a whisk because it'll make it a whole lot easier when we're ready to add our milk and our cheese to our skillet. We're going to go ahead and add our onions. We just want to saute this until it's translucent. Let's go ahead and add a layer of seasoning. We're going to add a pinch of pepper, and a pinch of salt. Just making sure we have a nice single layer of onions so they cook evenly. I don't know if you can see, but we have starting to get some brown bits in there. We're going to go ahead and add half of our garlic. Turn the heat down to a medium-low. We're going to go ahead and add our flour. We just want to cook the flour to get the raw taste out of it. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of our powdered vegetable broth. We're going to whisk that in. Then slowly add our milk. A little bit just to deglaze the bottom. We're going to go ahead and put a teaspoon of oregano. And about a teaspoon of basil. Alright, let's give this a taste and see if we need to add any more salt and pepper. Nope, it's perfect. The roux is doing its job and thickening it up. So I'm just going to add heavy cream just to give it a really creamy texture. This is a 12-ounce bottle. And it's so thick. This is probably about a cup and a half of cheddar. I'm going to go ahead and use all of this. I'm going to whisk that in. Cheesy goodness. That is so good. Turn the flame off. I've got the casserole dish right here that is coated with an olive oil. We have our sliced potatoes that we drained. Spread that out as evenly as we possibly can. We're going to pour our sauce right on top of this. Make sure we scrape it, make sure we get all the goodness off of it. Alright, let's cover all the potatoes with this cheesy goodness. Make sure it's in between all the layers of the potatoes on the bottom. Just stirring the potatoes around to get the cheesy goodness all over. We're going to cover our casserole dish with aluminum foil. And I do have it sitting on a cookie sheet. And we're going to put this in the oven while we work on the chicken thighs. The oven's probably going to take about 45 minutes, but we'll keep check on it. But in the meantime, we're going to start working on our chicken thighs. I'm using the same skillet, not even going to worry about washing it out. Just going to try to scrape some of the cheesy goodness off of it so we can have a cleaner surface. Doesn't have to be clean. I'm going to put avocado oil in our pan. And the reason we want to use avocado oil versus olive oil is because avocado oil actually has a higher heat point. so it won't smoke as bad, because we want to try to get that chicken skin as crispy as possible. So here's our boneless, skin on chicken breast. And I have some tongs ready to go. This pan to be hot, like super, super hot. So we're just going to let that sit for about 5 minutes, get nice and heated before we start putting our chicken in. And you can tell when it's ready. You just put a little bit of water on your fingers and you hear that sizzle, it's ready. So skin side down. We're going to do 4 at a time. We're not even going to touch it. So make sure that bottom gets a nice crisp sear on it. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and salt and pepper the meat side of these chicken thighs. Let's go ahead and add some oregano. About 1/2 teaspoon. And the same thing with basil. You know how we do it here. We season in layers. I cannot get them to remove themselves from the bottom of the pan. We're just going to leave it alone. Alright, they have released. And we're going to flip these over. Look at that beautiful color. Now we're going to let it cook on this side. Once these are ready to go in the oven, I'll bring you right back. Now we're just waiting for the chicken to tell us it's ready when it releases from the pan. See how easy that came up? Some of these are not ready. So two of these chicken thighs told us it was ready, but 2 of these said, I'm not ready yet. We're just going to let them stay in the pan until these 2 release. Go ahead and remove these. Another plate with paper towels on it. We're going to lay them on here so they're not overlapping. I have a kitchen towel on the countertop. We're going to go ahead and grab our potatoes out of the oven. They have been cooking for 30 minutes. They are not done, which is perfect. We want to go ahead and add our chicken thighs skin side up right on top of our cheesy potatoes. Like I said, the chicken is not done, but we're going to let it finish cooking in the oven on top of the potatoes. We're not going to cover this with aluminum foil because we don't want to make the skins soggy. So we're going to leave the cover off and let it continue cooking this way. In an hour, we'll check the temperature of the chicken and then we'll check the doneness of the potatoes. Chicken thighs needs to cook to 170 degrees. So after an hour, we're going to give it 1 hour and then we'll check the temperature of the meatiest part of a chicken thigh, and we'll do several of them, if not all of them, to make sure they're all cooking evenly in the oven on top of those potatoes. So we're looking for a temperature of 170 degrees for the chicken thighs, and we're looking for the doneness of the potatoes. And now we're going to work on some frozen broccoli, and we're going to put those in the oven and roast those up. This is a 2-pound bag, but again, cook according to your family size and whether you want or don't want leftovers. If I thought about it, I would have taken them out last night so I can actually cut them down to be a little smaller, but that's okay. We're going to work with what we got. So we have some pepper, salt. We're going to use the same herbs as we used for the chicken and for the potatoes. So we have basil. We'll put a good teaspoon, and oregano. Again, a good teaspoon. While we still have some heat on this, we're going to go ahead and saute the rest of our onions. We're going to pick up all the chicken bits that are attached to the pan. That is nothing but flavor. Go ahead and add the rest of our garlic. This is the onions and the garlic that we cooked in the oil that we cooked the chicken in. We're going to put this in with our broccoli. Get all the good little bits and pieces, even the chicken pieces that are in here. With all that oil. This pan is so heavy I can't do this and show you at the same time. I'm going to give that a toss. Let's add a little bit more oil. Since we started with avocado oil, we're going to finish it with avocado oil. I have another casserole dish here that we're just going to dump our broccoli into with all the little onions and garlic bits and pieces in here. And we're going to put this in the oven right beside the chicken. Our delicious chicken with the cheesy potatoes and our broccoli that we're going to roast up. They're sitting in the oven side by side, but in the middle of the oven. So we're taking out the chicken and the cheesy potatoes. We're going to check the temperature of the chicken. So we're just going to go sideways into the meatiest part, and we're looking for 170 degrees. And we're only at 140. The potatoes are not ready. And it's been 40 minutes. So I'm going to put this back in the oven and let it continue cooking. I am so glad we decided to put our casserole dish on a baking sheet because it is bubbling over. Alright, so we're going to check the temperature again. It has been an hour and 15 minutes. So we're going at it at an angle into the thickest part of this thigh. And it's over 170 degrees, which means it is done. Now let's check our potatoes. We're just going to go in between the thighs and check the tenderness of the potatoes. And there is still a little bit of crunchiness to it, some hardness, especially here in the center. So I'm just going to put it back in the oven for another 15 minutes. While we're at it, we're going to go ahead and give our broccoli a toss. Oh yeah, you can smell that. It smells divine. Alright, we're going to go ahead and let the broccoli cook additional 15 minutes also. Okay, everything is done. Let's go ahead and plate this up. Some broccoli. Let's grab a chicken thigh. These cheesy, creamy potatoes. Let's taste some broccoli. The broccoli is tender and has still a little bite to it. Perfect. Take a bite of our potato. They're nice and tender and cheesy. The potatoes are done. They're creamy. They're cheesy. That is really good. And that skin on that chicken, nice and crispy. Let's take a bite of this chicken thigh. It's going to be very hot. This chicken with the crispy skin is delicious, seasoned perfect. I just want to say thank you for sticking around while we made a delicious crispy skin chicken thigh with creamy cheesy potatoes and some roasted broccoli. Let us know in the comments below if you decide to make this recipe. It is so good. Your family will love it. So thanks for hanging out today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Give this video a like. And until next time, y'all have a wonderful day.